mean, we're just working like crazy. So we're gonna have a lot of really cool stuff. And Q1 next year is our early access release. So it's going to be the beginnings of the single player campaign. We want to get something into people's hands real soon so they can actually start playing the game, experience the combat, start giving us feedback on what to work on, what to fix, what to improve. And then we're going to be adding co-op and just scaling it up into like a real MMO.
What is up, you beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of the Built on Bitcoin podcast, where we're covering everything going on in the Stacks ecosystem. And today we have a very special guest, the founder of Moonray, which is a game that's been making waves lately. It's a AAA, super far in the future, surreal sci-fi RPG game that you've seen the footage on Twitter. It looks incredible. And today we have Rodrigo on the podcast. We talk about Moonray. We talk about NFTs, the ultimate vision of Moonray, which is to become one of the metaverses that we're all going to tap into once graphics gets good enough and the technology evolves a little bit. We will be going into Moonray with our digital assets and hanging out, kicking ass, whatever we want to do. Our digital selves might just be in this game. That would be the everything going perfectly to plan. Yeah, excited for this one. It was great talking to him. Time flew by way too fast. And I'm not going to talk. Let's just hop in the episode with Rodrigo Etcheto, founder of Moonray.
Welcome to Built on Bitcoin.
Rodrigo, thank you for joining the Built on Bitcoin podcast. How are you, my friend?
Good. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Appreciate it. Doing research on you was pretty interesting. We've all seen the amazing gameplay video on Twitter, and I was at the demo day, so I got to see you crash Zoom. That was dope.
My pleasure.
But then I got to listen to some other podcasts, and you kind of go down some rabbit holes of aliens, and you got some background in photography. And so I went to that, went to your website, went down that hole. So I'm not sure where to start or how fast I want to lose the audience, where we should take this. But I guess let's just start with kind of like what your brief background is and how you got into creating Moonray and starting Element 115.
Yeah, no problem. So like my background is math, computer science. That's what I studied in school years ago. And then I moved to Silicon Valley after college. I worked there for like 3 years, like a consulting company. We were doing like basically like marketing consulting for like tech startups. And then I worked in my family's business. My family has a business, something totally different. Did that for like 15 years, like a food processing startup. And then 3 years ago, I wanted to get back into tech, and I really wanted to get into game. I've always liked graphics and visual stuff. So I was just really impressed with the technology that's available now with Unreal Engine and just, the 3D pipelines in general, ZBrush. I've been using ZBrush for years and years and years. I think it's still like the most amazing software program ever made. It's really incredible. So I just thought, I just started experimenting with Unreal. And initially I wanted to do something that was more like along the lines of like music visualization. So I developed like this technique for synchronizing graphics with music. But it's not a frequency analyzer. So that basically like you play a song, and as the song is playing, you draw on like a Wacom, like a tablet, and that records like the data that you're essentially drawing the music as the music's playing. And then you can do that for different tracks, like for the bass track, for the drum tracks, etc. And then use that data to synchronize any type of visual in Unreal Engine. But then I just figured, so we have that, and everything in the game actually synchronizes to music. We haven't shown that yet. But then I just thought, okay, this is really cool, but to the market, to make a real product, it has to be a game. So that's when I started thinking, okay, I've got to really take this more down the route of making a game. And so that was like 3 years ago is when I started that, and then eventually just kind of like grew and grew until we started making Moonray itself and started putting the team together and finding like cool programmers, especially like algorithmic programmers, which I really like. So we've got a lot of like really cool, like real-time graphics, like fluid simulations and physics simulations that we do, because I just think it's really cool. So that's when, we just started making this like really far future, surreal kind of sci-fi kind of world, because that's just kind of what I'm into. Like, that's why I like Aliens, because I just think it's cool. And I just think that most of the stuff that we have now, to me, it's just getting kind of boring. It's like the same games. There's nothing wrong with like a medieval game or near future game. There's a market for that. And I play those games, and I play, like I love Sekiro and games like that. I love that like kind of like historical or pseudo historical genre, but just everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it. So, I want to do something that's really, really far future, and just think of like, what would technology look like 10,000 years from now, 50,000 years from now. And I just think it would look totally different. It would look organic. It would look very, very simple. I think that you would have total control over matter. And that's why everything would become like liquid in a sense. You could shape and mold anything any way you want. I think everything would be made out of kind of the same kind of stuff. And there's no real distinction between alive and dead or man-made or mechanical. I think everything will just blur. And that's what I think that, like an advanced technology would look like. And that's why I'm into aliens. That's why, like I always say, like, when you see reports, I don't know if you follow UFOs, I follow it really closely, but like, there's reports now of like flying pyramids buzzing our Navy destroyers off the coast of California. Like it happened last year, I think. When I hear that to me is really interesting. Like a flying pyramid is an advanced technology. Like a ship, like a plane that's made out of all sorts of panels with nuts and bolts and stuff, that's a primitive technology. That's what we have. You're burning fuel. Like something that can just float and it can be any shape, and like aerodynamics don't matter at all. That's a real technology.
Yeah, man, where to go with this? You covered so much right there. But I haven't dug deep into UFOs. I haven't spent any time on it, but I saw they declassified a bunch of things in the past couple of years, it seems like. And
yeah,
that's caused a crazy amount of stir, because you have an entity that has an immense amount of resources to do research on these things. And they're like, we have no clue. I don't know. And it's like, and it's breaking the mold of what something like that should move like, is what that's what kind of bends my mind the most, of like, there's so much that we don't even have a clue about.
Yeah, and the videos that they're releasing and the reports of the pilots and stuff, they show like craft that have no visible propulsion, no heat signatures that are given off like any sort of like jet trail or anything like that. They can stop and start. They can make 90-degree turns. They don't seem to be affected by inertia at all. So it's like some sort of bubble that they're creating, some sort of like space-time bubble. I mean, who knows how it works? My suspicion is it's all actually electromagnetic, and we just don't understand electromagnetism. I think that we have to look at what Tesla did a whole lot more, like the historical Tesla. I think that he was much more advanced than we think. But who knows? I mean, I'm no expert there. I just think it's really cool. And then to me, it's like that again. That's an advanced technology. I mean, our planes are like, they have inertia and they can bank and fly, but you can see the way they're turning like from a mile away. These UFOs, they'll make a 90-degree turn. They can just accelerate instantly. And in the reports of pilots that see them, they'll say a lot of times it's like, so there's a famous Tic Tac incident that was a Navy pilot like in 2004, I think, who just saw a white, like a 30-foot long white Tic Tac, perfectly smooth, no rivets, no panels, no windows, nothing. Just perfectly smooth Tic Tac flying in any way it wants. Like, okay, that's technology. That's the real deal.
Yeah, and I mean, the way you describe what the future will probably be like in this kind of like organic fluid matter, it's kind of like how back in the day everyone was trying to convert through alchemy things into gold, because gold was like the most precious metal. So if we can turn a non-precious metal into a precious metal, then everything's going to be better off. And this is like that to the nth degree, where you can turn anything. And in the game, you have it's called mium, which is this element that the main god, in a sense, can harness and create into anything it wants. That's how I see that. Is like in the future, you'll just alchemize anything to be anything, and there's no more scarcity. There's complete abundance.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where technology, I mean, hopefully it heads. And it's like, yeah, when you have total control over matter, then you can convert anything into anything else. Then all the distinctions between different types of matter just start to go away, because I imagine like if you have enough energy, you can convert any type of matter into any other type of matter. And so then it really doesn't matter. So that's like the idea behind mium in the game, is that's kind of like the ultimate element. It's the energy source. Everything in the game has some level of mium embedded in it. And the more it has, the more fluid it is, and the more control you have over it. So like the player is made partially out of mium. Like you're kind of like a being that's like fashioned by the goddess out of mium. And that's why you can take on any different form you want as well. You're not like, you're not a human, you're not male or female, you're just kind of like some new type of life form, and you can change it to anything. So like we want to do like some really cool stuff. I'm talking to the development team. One of the things that I really want to do is a centaur creature. I've always wanted to do that, so like you should just be able to turn to anything that you want. For the fast travel right now, instead of doing like a vehicle, you just turn to a swarm of particles and fly anywhere you want, and then you refashion into human. It's like that to me would be cool. Like I don't want to get into like a ship and fly around. That to me just is boring. Like I want to turn into a swarm of 50,000 particles, fly wherever I want, and then just like reintegrate into a humanoid form, run around for a little bit, kill something, turn to a centaur, run away. It's like that. It's like now we're having fun. You know what I mean? It's like if I have to get into like basically a Tesla Model 10, flying spaceship, it's like who cares?
Yeah, no, you're kind of going like the route of what people have been hoping the metaverse becomes, where we kind of like we just put our consciousness into the machine and we become limitless, not bounded by any kind of material now. And that's kind of like that, but you still have some limitations in how much MEM you have access to. Is that kind of the so that's the bounds currently?
Exactly. So you have to collect it. The more you collect it, the more you can cool stuff you can create and craft, and weapons and things like that. So that is like the resource that you'll have to collect. And when you kill an enemy, you're taking, their MEM, essentially, that's what's left behind. So that's like the basis of the economy. And then that's going to be the basis of the token economy, in the game.
Got it. And that's the play to earn model is so, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I probably stopped gaming 8 years ago. Like when I stopped gaming, the kind of like season pass model was just coming into play. And I was like, oh, here we go. Like the money grab starts again. And then now we're in kind of the play to earn or the free to play, but you just kind of like nickel and dime people for every little thing for skins and avatars. How do you think about the current model or the model we're going into?
I think it's really different.
Understand it.
Yeah, I think it's really different. And gamers, there's a negative perception among gamers, and I think it's going to change. I think it's going to take a year or two until people understand what play to earn and what this new economic model is. But it's a complete shift, right? Because people are thinking like, oh, you're doing NFTs and crypto. Yeah, you're going to nickel and dime us and we have to buy your thing. It's like, no, what you do in the game, you own. If you buy something, you own that asset. If you buy a skin right now in another game, in Fortnite, whatever, what do you do when you don't want the skin anymore? Well, you get your money back from Epic? Go ask them. Like they're not going to give you your money back. You played it for a month, that's yours. You bought it. With us, you're tired of that skin, sell it. You don't have to hang on to it. Maybe you'll make money. Maybe that it goes up. Or if you don't want to buy anything, that's fine. Just play the game, earn resources. That resource collection mechanism in the game, eventually when you get enough, you can actually craft an NFT in the game. That NFT is going to have value. You can convert it to dollars if you want. You can convert it to Bitcoin. That's a real asset that you own. So it's a little bit like, I think about it like, imagine if this was like 5,000 years ago and we're all living on land, right? And we're just like, we have tents or whatever. We're just like hanging out, living on land. And like, that's one level of wealth. And then all of a sudden the legal framework for property ownership develops. Now you can actually have title to the land that you're on. And then also that land becomes a useful economic asset. You can get a loan out on it. You can sell it. That's how I funded this game. I got a loan out. I got a second mortgage on my home. If it wasn't for the fact that I have title to my house, I couldn't have done that. And I never would have made the game. But unlocking that land ownership is what unlocks those economies. Some third world economies, the problem that they have is that people don't have title to their land. They live on a plot of land. They've lived there for decades. Their family, it could be second, third generation, but the legal system's such a mess. You don't actually own title to your land. That means you can't go to a bank and get a loan out. I mean, you're restricted. So what's happening now with NFTs and this whole economy is all of a sudden digital assets, you own it. You have ownership of it. That just unlocks a whole new economy. And that's what we're seeing. But it's scary initially. And a lot of people still don't get it. They think, oh, it's like a scam or it's just like another microtransaction. It's not. What you buy is yours. You can trade it. You can sell it. We have a partnership with another company called Alex. They're in the Stacks ecosystem. They're like essentially like a DeFi exchange, like a sophisticated DeFi exchange. They're going to take our NFTs and they'll turn those into financial instruments. So if you want to take a loan out and use your NFT as collateral, you can do that. If you want to do yield farming with an NFT, you'll be able to do that as well. So if you're not playing the game and you want to hang out, you just want to, take a break for a couple months, rent it out to someone. If you have a really cool weapon or skin, rent it out to someone, or do some yield farming. You can actually earn money with it. So then it becomes a whole new type of economy that's only possible with blockchain. And I think especially as we enter this automated age where all sorts of jobs are going to get automated away, it's like we have to create new economies. People are always, every time there's like a new, like when the Industrial Revolution came along you had, the people are like, oh, but all these jobs are going to be wiped away. These manual jobs we had before, now they're mechanized. Yeah, but it's like 1,000 new careers, like sprung up that we didn't have before. This is the same process that we're seeing now. It's just the beginning of it. But earning money in a metaverse is going to be a real job very soon.
Yeah.
And it's going to replace jobs that are disappearing, like truck drivers. I'm sorry, it sucks, but it's going away. There's nothing we can do about that. But what we can do is create new opportunities where it's like, okay, if all trucks are automated and all cars are automated and there's no more taxi drivers and truck drivers, okay, there's going to be a metaverse and many metaverses, and you can actually earn a living there. And those are going to be the types of future jobs that we have to create.
That makes sense. Like my corollary is back when I played RuneScape as a young kid, and you would like mine ore that you can sell in the marketplace. And if you held it enough, you can go on kind of like the PayPal black markets and flip it that way. Now it's just like the platform is already there, but we're really early. This sounds like we're like on like the third domino and we're just getting started, and we don't really even have like the primitives to really understand how big this could be.
Yeah, no, it is. It's just getting started. And so some people see like the valuations of like the first blockchain gaming companies, like Axie Infinity, and they think that's just ridiculous. Like it's hype. No, it's not. It's a totally new asset class, and that's what it is. It's like unlocking a new form of wealth creation that wasn't possible before blockchain technology existed. So like what you're saying with RuneScape, yeah, I mean, like people are doing that or going on eBay and selling assets illegally. With us, it's not going to be illegal. Like we want you to do it. We want you to make stuff and make money. Like that's what we want you to come in and make a business inside of Moonray. Your business could be, I'm really good at crafting swords and I can make the best level 10 swords anyone can make. Do it. Go sell them. That's your business. Like I don't care what you do with your assets. Go sell them. Make some money.
I can also see a time, like there's so much hours spent playing games already, and it's most entertainment, non-productive time, unless you're in like the upper echelon. But now it could be I could see a period of time where, not just in the future, every game that someone plays has to have some productive level to it. And it's just maybe the more productive games are more boring, but there's games in the middle, and like every game you play in the future is going to have some element of financial benefit.
It's going to have to. Yeah, it's going to have to. It's like basically like we reward your time. Basically, time is the most precious commodity, and we measure the time you put into it and the skill you have, and we reward that. That's what blockchain enables, right? So the more you play, the better you're going to get, and then the more of the in-game resource you earn, the more cool stuff you can craft. But yeah, everything. So like the idea of telling a gamer in a few years, pay me $60, I'll let you play my game. It's going to sound crazy. No one's going to do like, why in the world would I rent a game from you? Is basically what that is. It's the rental model. No one's going to rent a game from us.
Yeah.
And unless you don't have to, the game is free. You own it. But you want to make some cool stuff. You want to craft some cool skins. You own it. We're going to open up the pipeline too. We're going to open up to the modding community. So we're going to have like a beta server and a live server. If you're a modder, you want to do some cool stuff, and you already know Unreal Engine, we'll make a plugin at some point to make that integration like as seamless and as easy as possible. You want to make a cool game mode, a level, a mission. If you're an animator and you want to make a new move set with some weapons, do it. Bring it to the beta server. You can experiment. It's gonna be like the Wild West. Anything goes. And then we're gonna have via the governance token a DAO that takes cool ideas and builds them into the live server. So then, like if you want to be like a game modder and just make cool missions for Moonray, you can do that. When you bring it to the live server, there's probably gonna be like some sort of NFT minting process. So you own that, but then you can sell it. Like you can make a really cool mission and say, this is a really hardcore elite mission. I'm going to make a unique NFT. It's an addition of 1,000. Only the 1,000 people that buy this NFT can play this mission. And that could be your business. And you're always doing that. And you become really well known as like the craziest level designer. Go for it. Like we just want to enable that. So over time, Moonray will become a platform and not so much a game. What we're building now is just the first iteration of a potential game in our metaverse. But I expect that to change like rapidly over time.
Got it. So you guys are kind of, the ultimate goal is to kind of become what Roblox is becoming right now. As like the base layer that people can build on top of, but it actually looks beautiful while you're doing it.
Yeah, and more of a like if you want to do like more like advanced like next generation gameplay, you want to do real combat. Like if someone wants to make like a third person shooter mod for us, go for it. You want to make a first person shooter, we'll enable that. But I think that's going to be, to make a real metaverse, that's what you have to do. Like we don't expect everyone to come in necessarily and just play the action game that we're making now. That's going to be the initial like hook for the first few years. But over time, the DAO is there to come up with new ideas, new types of gameplay. Some people just don't like action gaming, but maybe they'll just be in the capital city and be involved in the politics, and that's what they like. And they never really go into like a multiplayer mission or a single player campaign. They're just hanging out in the city and like, I don't know, open up a shop, like I don't know, do whatever you want. I mean, like that's what we want to enable. And I think this is the social media of the future. Who in the world is going to be like in 5 years, like sitting on some stupid website, typing away? It's just going to be dumb. Like, why would you do that when there's like, you can be in a really cool 3D universe. At some point, VR is going to get powerful enough where you have VR that can power this kind of graphics, and then it's over. Then it's game over. So, I mean, I don't know. If I were Facebook, I would be nervous.
I like that bold claim. It actually sounds like you're doing. It's almost like you're open sourcing the platform so that you guys give the elements that people can build on top of, and like you don't really have to like top down direct it. It just like organically grows, and wherever it goes, you guys are going to support it.
That's absolutely it. And like we're just kind of like the glue. We're especially initially, we're making sure everything kind of fits. That like no one is coming in necessarily like just like making like a Mickey Mouse mod or something like that. It's like, okay, maybe on the beta server you could go nuts, but like at some point, like it has to kind of fit our world. But over time, we just become the glue. And look, if someone says like, I really like medieval games. Okay, make a medieval mod in the capital city. You can go into a portal and you're transported to another dimension, another planet or whatever. And you can run around in a medieval world if that's what you want, if that's what you like. I mean, like our game is in the future, like, I don't know how parallel dimensions work. I bet it's crazy. Just think of whatever you want to do and go for it. I mean, then it's a real metaverse. There's really, over time, there should be no limits. The only limit should be the technology that we have at our disposal. But that's increasing so fast. Like GPUs are so good now that, and the pipelines for like making 3D assets, stuff like that, they're so good. And there's so much creative talent out there. Like I go on websites, if you check out artstation.com, which is like a big website in the game industry. It's just for artists, like especially game artists. The talent that's out there is incredible. It's crazy, and it's like, all right, we need to give those people a way of making what they do come to life. Let them, help them do it on their own, and we'll help them as much as we can. Like our team will basically be there for a while, just sort of like taking other people's assets and making them work in the game. But it's like, you should be, if you want to make something in our game, we're going to help you do it. And then we're just going to have access to the most creative people and the most creative ideas. We don't have to think of everything. We just kind of sit back and see like, okay, what are people coming up with? That's cool. All right. Let's bring that into the capital city. Let's make a portal. That's another dimension. That's another world, whatever it is. And then our team can be relatively small, but with much more creative potential than any other, like a typical game studio, because we're not inventing everything.
That makes sense. And there's so many creatives out there, because my background is in filmmaking, and like there's so much people who just crush at filmmaking, but they don't have the platform or know how to sell themselves. And so they're always working on the next project and getting buried in the next project. This is like, you guys are giving, it's almost like you could become like the platform and the curator to then give spotlight to certain people that wouldn't otherwise have a shine.
Yeah, and then that's where the community comes in. I mean, that's where we're going to have like the DAO mechanism or the governance token, where it's like the community is going to tell us what they want to see and what they like. We're gonna give the community a ton of control, and we're going to be really open, because so sometimes people ask us, well, how do you know, like, what if your game isn't a hit? It's like, well, it doesn't need to be a hit initially. We just need to start building the community, and the community is going to help us build what they really want to play. Like, as long as we're listening, and we're bringing in good ideas from the outside, and we're responsive, and we kind of facilitate that, then over time, like, we'll invent new gameplay styles. I mean, it's like we're going to be super, super open. So almost like we're just one layer above a game engine, but not that far above it, over time.
Got it, man. I'm amped right now. You're throwing so many things at me. What does your day-to-day look like? How do you keep everything kind of like cohesive in your own head?
I have a lot of notes. I just write notes all the time so I don't forget things. And I wake up really early. I have young kids, so I wake up early anyways. But I just wake up early, and I'm just on calls all day. Like these last few weeks, we've been raising money from investors, so it's been really crazy. But for me, it's really fun. I mean, soon, hopefully, we finish our fundraising, and then I can really get back into just like the game development and creative side of it, which is what I like. But we're just scaling up rapidly. But yeah, I just take a lot of notes, and I just read a lot of weird stuff. And I read a lot of weird stuff, and I wake up in the middle of the night and I read like a weird book, and then I go back to sleep, and then I wake up early and get to work.
Got it. Okay. I got a couple more questions. I'll let you go. This one's a selfish question because I'm an avid reader myself. What's a book or two that has had a great influence on how you think?
One I think the crazy, I mean, I think the most important book that I think has ever been written is Plotinus, the Greek philosopher.
Highness.
Okay. Yeah, he wrote a book called the Aeneid. It's the most difficult thing I've ever read in my life by far.
Okay.
It's really, I mean, it's like, scientific stuff is really tricky, like if you're reading about biology or computers and how, software works or this and the other, but it's still like in a paradigm that you can understand, where it's basically, it's cause and effect and somewhat, like you can understand the relationships. That kind of like metaphysics that Plotinus wrote, I mean, it's very hyperlogical, but it's like a way of thinking that is like totally beyond anything that we are used to at all in our modern society. It's way, way, way far out there. And that's why I think like our ancestors, we think of them sometimes as being primitive and superstitious. They were anything but. They were in a lot of ways much, much smarter and more advanced than we are.
Okay. It's very interesting. Yeah, there's an idea that popped up when I was looking at the backstory of Moonray, and it made me think of the Tower of Babel story, where you have this Miam, which gives you godlike powers in a sense, and then the main god creates pretty much everything that's in existence, and then one of the worlds starts to kind of like flourish, and they become aware of Miam, and they start to like worship it themselves, and they want to become like gods, and so that's the Tower of Babel being built. But that's the difference in your game, is that God can't crush the tower and like spread across all the languages. The God that has the power is still bounded by something, and so when it goes to the planet, she becomes imprisoned and has to like find a different way out to then break down like the cult that's imprisoning her. That idea is super fascinating.
Yeah, it's almost like, I mean, it's like at some point, like power becomes like almost more like anyone can get hold of it. And like, even though you got far ahead at some point, like the goddess in this case, and she got really far ahead, and then she like stopped paying attention. This other group, this planet forms a cult around it. And all of a sudden it's like, now she can't control it either, and I kind of like that. Like, there's no like ultimate, like, any one being or thing that can crush anyone. It's like, everyone has to fight always, and like you can never kind of like rest. Like, even if you're a goddess now, like you may not be in the future, so like don't fall asleep. And the same goes for every company that exists today, every social media platform. Don't fall asleep.
How important is story in your guys' process or the game? You've talked a lot about the platforms, and it's a beautiful game. It's like you watch the video and it's just like awe. You continuously feel awe when you look at these giant landscapes that are like just perfectly beautiful. But how do you guys think about story in the context of all that?
Story is really, really important. We're working now. We're going to start working real soon on a comic book series that we're going to be releasing, first before the game comes out, and then alongside it, to really develop some of the storylines. Like in a comic book, I like books, and then I really like comic books too, because the cool thing about comics is I think it's like one of the most creative genres that exists now, because you get the visual element, in a comic book where you can really like kind of like paint a picture of a whole world. So we're going to be explaining like the backstory a lot in a comic series. So then it's just going to kind of make sense what we're doing with the game. And then the game is like, kind of like the comic come to life, essentially.
Okay, right on. Last question, and I want to treat this question kind of like an aspirational, but also maybe a time capsule. So if you guys take off and crush it, this will be like the piece we look back on and go, look, 5 years ago, he said that shit and it's all came true. So let's say in 5 years, everything goes like perfectly to plan. You guys just knock it out the park. What does that look like in your conception currently?
I mean, I hope that in 5 years, VR is powerful enough where it's like 2-3 generations. Like VR is the equivalent of like, twin RTX 3090s, right? And so then like this kind of graphics that we're doing now, you can be doing it in a VR environment smoothly. That is like the ideal from a tech standpoint. I mean, I think then the ability to really create like a really crazy world is just going to take, I mean, it could actually be scary, at that point, like, cause you can make something that's so cool that you don't want to get out of it.
You're
right.
gone.
So yeah, I mean, but that's where I think things need to go. It's just going to be a totally new like art form, essentially. It's going to be like a new way of like we've never encountered something where you can make environments that real, that cool, outside of like people that are really like, I don't know, like advanced meditators, or there's other like maybe psychic things that people can do, but it's like most people can't do that. I certainly can't. So it's like, all right, we're just gonna have to get like really cool computers, basically. That's my only chance.
Okay.
I'm not meditating, you know. So it's like let's get some GPUs and let's just make it happen that way.
Okay, so the bold claim is Facebook trying to become the metaverse company. They lost. Now they're out. They lost to Moonray.
Yeah, they're done.
The open source community took over, and that's where we're all in.
Yeah, they're not going to make it. I don't think. They're just kind of. I mean, it's a total shift. I think most of the game industry isn't going to make it. I mean, I talk to people in the game industry all the time. I don't think that they get it still. I was just talking to someone at a very big, very famous game company, and I was asking him, "So what are you working on now?" It's like, "Oh, we have a new concept. It's a first-person shooter. It's going to be really cool." It's like, "Okay, so when are you guys releasing it?" I was like, "We'll do a closed alpha in 2 years." It's like too late. It's too late. I mean, if you're not working on blockchain right now, you're dead.
That makes sense. No, I totally agree. And it's like when you're in the system, it's almost like you can see the future foretold. It just the reality hasn't caught up yet, but it feels like this is absolutely where it's going. But when you talk to a regular person at the grocery store, they're like, "What's Bitcoin again? Can you describe it?" Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the way I tell everyone, I see it as like you talk to most people, they're working at Blockbuster Video is what they're doing.
Yeah,
and then you're Netflix. It's just like, and they're no, what are you talking about? We have a video store in every city in America, and it's like, yeah, not for long.
Yeah,
not for long.
100%. Okay, well, man, this has been great. How can people find out more about what you're building?
Yeah, Moonray, so Twitter, at Moonray Game on Twitter, and our website is moonray.game, and we're going to be making like a ton of announcements between now and the end of the year. Our first NFTs are coming soon, and we're just working like crazy. So we're going to have a lot of really cool stuff. And Q1 next year is our early access release. So it's going to be the beginnings of the single player campaign. We want to get something into people's hands real soon so they can actually start playing the game, experience the combat, start giving us feedback on what to work on, what to fix, what to improve. And then we're going to be adding co-op and just scaling it up into like a real MMO.
Got it. Okay. And find the Discord. It goes down in the Discord.
Yeah, Discord. Yeah, Discord's important. You can get that. Just go to our website. All the links are there. Go to moonray.game and all the links are there. Twitter, Discord, etc.
Beautiful. Rodrigo,
All right.
Thank you so much, man.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks.
Welcome to Built on Bitcoin.
I know that things don't always go your way, but I'll be right here waiting. I've been waiting now. I've been trying to figure out a way to make it out, 'cause I don't think about